Hello and welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. We are at episode 817. It is April 2nd, 2025, and Brent Vanderberg is not here tonight. I am Sebastian Peak, filling in.
You're no Huckleberry at all. I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Kent Burgess, and I'm here despite the animals walking in my front door 2 by 2.
Take that
mandatory ARC coverage.
Is that a flood reference? Okay, yes. Oh, yeah. Mandatory ARC coverage. That is brilliant, coverage. Jeremy.
That's nice. Pretty quick, Jeremy.
Sometimes when I'm listening to the podcast during editing, I'll just hear some little remark that Jeremy makes almost under his breath. I'm like, oh, that was pretty clever. And it's always like that.
Yeah, and so then you cut it.
You can find out how to support PC Perspective financially by going to patreon.com/PCPer. We want to shout out Craig DC. Thank you for your support. Josh, it has come to my attention that you may have had a burger today. Please tell us more.
Okay. Well, you know what? Sometimes you just got to have the naughty. The naughty is a classic. It is a double cheeseburger with jalapenos, chipotle ketchup, and a spicy mustard. And I'll tell you, get your attention. The jalapenos were a little warm today. I substituted the tots for the fries, and I was immediately rewarded with a very crispy, crunchy, yet tender in the inside tots. It was a nice burger. It hit the spot. I couldn't finish it for some reason. I just wasn't that hungry. I was really tired all day long. It was unfortunate and unpleasant, but you know what? That's life. Remember, there's no such thing as a normal life. There's just life.
Let's move to news, and in no particular order. From Guru of 3D, this story about the Ryzen 9800X3D CPU failures. The cases have surpassed 100 instances. Now, this was updated with an AMD statement. You can see a visual here about the vendor responsible for the most cases, and 82% of reports come from ASRock motherboard owners. AMD, they are, quote, aware of a limited number of user reports involving ASRock AM5 motherboards failing to complete post. Following a joint investigation, AMD and ASRock identified a memory compatibility issue present in earlier BIOS versions, which has been rectified in the latest BIOS. ASRock has already issued guidance on this behavior and addressed a singular report of a damaged CPU, end quote.
I cannot believe the idea that AMD was picky about the certain memory it was paired with. This was just unbelievable.
Another problem that I have been worried about for a while since this latest CPU launch has been a lot of memory kits coming out at 1.4 volts again. It scares me because I've been running 1.4 on the test platform that AMD sent, and that was the memory kit they sent, but this has happened in the past with the 7000 series, and I had a couple of kits go bad. Fortunately, no bad processors, though, but possibly one bad motherboard. The benefits certainly outweigh the negatives, but there's a little bit more work involved. Well, if you're an ASRock board owner anyway. I have not really had issues with an Asus board yet, but
you have had the Gigabyte.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, you reminded me. Failure to post, corrupted BIOS, then the BIOS corrupted itself again. But it may have been a power supply issue, so I didn't want to just blame the board.
Right.
Because I had a power supply that was never fully disconnecting the power to the board even when it was switched off on the back.
Oh.
I was doing CPU swaps, and apparently the board was still live.
Yep.
And one time I swapped GPUs for some benchmarks, and as soon as I seeded the new GPU, the system turned on.
Now that's an interesting feature. Someone should patent that.
Yeah. So I think I destroyed that board.
I'm assuming an underwear company should patent that, by the way, because Sebastian, you probably had to change something after that.
I finally swapped out motherboard, CPU, memory, power supply this weekend, and so far it's knock on wood, it's done okay. It's a 9800X3D. I got the good G skill memory at 1.35 volt. And the new ASRock power supply. That thing seems pretty nice. Cables are pretty good quality. The 12 volt 2x6 cable has a really nice solid feel to it, and they've got the green kind of cladding on the plug part. So if you see any hint of green, you know that you have not plugged it in correctly. Just nice little features like that, and everything booted up first time. I mean, I updated to the final release F4 BIOS for it. There's a couple of different revisions of the motherboard, and it's that Gigabyte Aorus Elite Wi-Fi 7, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. It's so far been pretty good. I didn't use the secondary cooling plate on the second NVMe because it was a next storage with a built-in cooler, and I didn't feel like taking that thing off because it looks like, it was Fort Knox for NVMe cooling. What else? My previous Gigabyte board was an X570, and that thing lasted since, the 3000 launch, the Ryzen 3000. I think I got that with the 3600X at the same time. So it was 2020? And the power supply, the power supply was the Antec 1200 watt from 2011. That thing still, I think it runs pretty much brand new. I guess Lee gave it very, very high results and awards that it was a super solid and shocking power supply. So upgrade away this weekend, and that's what I'm running on now, and I don't notice a huge difference from my 5800X3D, but I haven't really played a lot of games, so I think you're only going to see a lot if you do some actual benchmarking and look at those sweet 1%.
And you're also playing at a high resolution as well, right?
Yeah, 5220 by 1440 or something like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're getting to a point where you're more GPU bound than CPU bound at this point.
Yeah.
Next, the continuing saga of Windows 11 and its attempts at making it an online-only Windows as a service, essentially. So The Verge and other outlets were reporting a few days ago that Windows 11 closing the loophole that let you skip making a Microsoft account. There's a well-known bypass script. I think that's the one that Rufus was using.
Yeah, and there was a number of flavors of it. But it was essentially a bypass NRO that you fooled your machine into thinking it was a server, sort of. It was easy to do. You could just dump it in and not have to actually type stuff in. You just needed to add it into the install media. Well, Microsoft decided that was just too easy, and they really, really needed to just disable that from working at all completely, which they did.
Yes.
I mean, it was just a little script that you were running. As The Verge and others pointed out, there is still a registry edit that you can do that will do the exact same thing. You just need to know that you can hit Shift F10 at the beginning when it asks you to sign in and fire up what in the business side of things we know as the OOBE, the out-of-box experience. You can then skip doing this with a reboot. But, Microsoft is a little bit annoyed about this. As much as they want you to move to Windows 11, they don't want to make it easy.
Right.
So you got to buy new hardware. And you got to get an online account. And you got to do this. And you got to accept AI into your life. And there's all sorts of ridiculousness. So, of course, within days, another way came.
Yes.
To destroy it.
And it's easy.
Which is the Shift F10, the command screen when you first get prompt to do it. And literally it's start ms-cxh ms-cxh local only. You run that, it immediately pops up that ancient old screen of who's going to use this PC. Enter your name and enter your password, and then enter it again and see if you can get it right twice. And away you go. You can even set family stuff at this point.
Nice.
So if you wanted to set this up for someone who shouldn't be messing around with things, you can literally do that at this point. And this is one of the things used in like Intune scripts for enrolling a machine without needing to go through Windows Hello at all. So this is not something that they can get rid of because it's baked right in there, and messing with this will mess with enterprise customers. And they're the only ones who even sort of pretend to like Microsoft at this point, because the consumers are not impressed. If the year of the penguin happens, it will be because people get annoyed enough at Microsoft, not because Linux got better. On the other hand, there was a little bit of positive buried in that, in the first attempt at them to take it down, which is that they finally made one small benefit to having your install being connected to the internet.
Oh, yeah?
When the wonderful CrowdStrike incident happened, and computers all across the world essentially went, and you needed to physically go in and deal with stuff at the boot. There was no way to do this remotely unless you had someone bright enough on the other end who could actually handle a USB drive on a separate computer, copy a file, and put it over to the other one and add a file. Microsoft at the time promised that, hey, in the recovery screen that comes up after it fails to reboot about 2 or 3 times, they're going to provide this quick machine recovery tool. And what that's going to do is essentially what any other OEM does, which is go online, grab a copy of Windows, install it from scratch, or download certain patches that need to be done, and let that machine now boot without the user having to do anything other than, I don't like this. Oh, there's a quick machine recovery button. Bloop. Please wait 10 minutes. And they're back. This is just rolling out now, so we'll see how well it works. But it would be very good to have something like this when the next one happens. Might not be CrowdStrike, but it'll be someone who's playing around on the kernel level that it shouldn't be. There's your Redmond news for the week.
Good. It almost was starting to feel like Insecurity Corner, but of course that's a later segment.
Well, you know what's going to happen is the Xbox people are going to get them to do the Xbox game bar at the kernel level. And there's,
That's good, because then X3D processors will run properly right out of the box.
Oh,
they need that game bar.
Oh,
Josh, you were an evil person for giving them that idea.
You should not say that. Someone will pick it up and...
Well, we shouldn't report on the latest workaround for this Microsoft Online requirement, because they're just going to patch it right out with the next build.
Yeah, but we'll need to build one that works for an Xbox too if that happens.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. Next, this story is from Tech Power Up, but we've seen reports around the web. This is from Friday. Intel reportedly canceled their Battlemage discrete GPU, the high-end models, last year. That's why we never got anything above their mid-range offering, a B580. Apparently, though, I think I saw something that the future roadmap does include DGPUs still.
Yeah,
they didn't say high-end.
If you remember last year, it was probably beginning of December that rumors came out that large Battlemage was not even taped out yet, and people were looking at the, I don't know if we remember it being the name of it was going to be, but we knew their mid-range was going to be hitting. And people were really questioning, will this ever see the light of day? Because if you haven't taped it out by December, that means that when it does release, it'll probably be in about a year, because they got to do the tape out. They've got to get the masks created. Those masks are like $10 million a piece, and there's multiple layers of it, and very, very complex, super pure quartz. Yeah, it's they're insane. And they cost a lot of money per set. And And you got to go through all the validation and make sure that you get initial chips back. And even if you hot lot it, it's still going to take many, many, many weeks and many, many tens of thousands of dollars to do that. You get samples back and you go through all the qualification, and then you send, you make either metal layer changes or get more masks that, you're solving some big deals with. And it's just, it's going to be a year from tape out to when you would actually see it. It used to be less in earlier days when things were not as complex, but a lot of people kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I thought, maybe they could pull it off, and maybe that the next 2 years will be long enough for product differentiation and stuff coming in that they could, potentially get one out here in 6 months and it'll still be, a success. But apparently they've moved on, and all of their guys are going to Celestial and Druid. We know that they will have some Celestial product out, and they, announced in the latest Intel meeting earlier this week, or was it late last? Can't remember my mind, but they're still going to have discrete graphics, and they're hoping to compete there. And it's good that they do, because they need a unified, good, solid architecture for their CPUs. They need a good, unified, software-supported architecture for inference and AI. And this is one of the best ways to do it. GPUs are very, very, very flexible when it comes to these kind of workloads. And they're still trying to catch up, and they need to. And they've dropped the ball multiple times throughout the past 30 years where they could have some kind of dominant position in graphics, and they just decided, no, x86 is the future. This is what we're going to do. And they've been wrong many times. Maybe they finally learned architecture. Yeah. So
it wasn't IBM.
Yeah, but Intel sort of.
No, Itanium. Itanium is the future.
Oh, Itanium was definitely not the future.
The past is the future. x86.
40048008, the C something, C4 something, I can't remember. That was going to be, is something like, some interesting state processor that they thought was going to be better in x86, and it flopped right off the bat. Yeah.
And let's not forget Optane, which wasn't a processor, but just another, Intel thing that they, put a lot of development into. And yes, it was a good product, but it's gone now. It's not theirs.
Yeah,
that's right.
And also Strong Arm in the early 2000s.
Okay, great.
They could have had a big jump.
Great segue, Josh, because we're going to talk about ARM right now.
Oh, okay.
Qualcomm is not done with ARM. They've launched a global antitrust campaign. Qualcomm has accused its longtime partner ARM Holdings of unfair business practices, taking the matter to U.S., Europe, and South Korea regulators, says this article at Tom's Hardware. It's interesting to me to see Qualcomm fight with ARM, and yet they're completely dependent on ARM for that license that allows them to make their Snapdragon processors. Although I think their GPU core...
Wasn't it kind of like Intel fighting with AMD, even though they were cross-licensed to the hilt?
Yes. Or like when ARM fought with Qualcomm just a few months ago, or when it was the other way around about a year ago, or, it's the ever-continuing soap opera.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep the lawyers happy. And to do that, they have to be busy with dumb stuff.
And these two definitely do that.
This next story is not an April Fool's joke because it was published on March 26, or at least, it was updated on March 26. Napster was sold for $207 million. I feel like we've talked about this on the podcast.
I feel like this is a lie, and someone just downloaded Napster, and then they got fined. And this was the amount they had to pay for the fine.
That was the settlement? Okay. So
they probably accidentally downloaded it too, because, we all use Napster now, right?
Infinite Reality bought it and they have plans for it. Okay. I don't think it's been long enough for that to really be as nostalgic as they probably think it should be for $270
I don't know.
million.
We've had 2 Spider-Man reboots since Napster, so it's probably time for a Napster reboot.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, this next story is complicated. MCP, the new USB-C for AI. This is a story from Ars Technica. I don't know anything about this. It's Model Context Protocol.
Now, you've heard of MCP. Everyone's been talking about MCP. This is sort of the protocol to allow AIs to steal the data from the internet. Learn from the internet.
Okay. Yeah.
So it allows them to sort of connect with everything outside. And because it's open, anyone's AI model can use it without having to give up anything about their AI model, right? So Grok isn't going to be giving up secrets to ChatGPT and that sort of thing. It's just a way for them all to use the same gigantic straw. It is one of the things that OpenAI has been sort of been pushing for a long time, and might be part of why they're thinking about switching from being a from profit to profit, but at the same time, it is open source. So the idea that it's a USB-C port is that, it's a ubiquitous connection that you don't have to flip at least twice, if not 3 times, to get it to connect. So it's not the greatest analogy, but I understand why they're going for it. So essentially, a lot of people are jumping into this and saying, yeah, this makes sense to do what I love. They call it AI to tool connections. There's at least 2 puns in that. So this is sort of what they're going to be doing, is just boom. This is a way for your AI to slurp up data that everyone can use, and you don't have to spill any of the internal secrets or communications to be able to take advantage of this. So yeah, they love this.
So is this kind of like the milkshake thing from There Might Be Blood? There Will Be Blood.
But there will be blood.
Yeah. The giant straw.
Yep. Because it's all a series of tubes, right?
Yes. And on the subject of USB-C, there's been so many of these portable USB-C displays, and they're so light and thin, because they're just laptop screens with a plastic shell around them, that you can do almost anything with them, such as perch them atop your existing laptop in this extremely safe and practical product called the DuX Float.
Yes. It uses magnets, because that's what you want next to your screen.
Wait a minute. This MacBook Pro in the picture, that is an aluminum casing. So how do the magnets stick to that?
Do I look like I'm part of the Insane Clown Posse?
So
maybe there's a lot inside the case.
Yes. And it also comes with a flip-out stand, so you can put it beside your laptop, which, make a lot more sense. But one of the interesting things that made me at least post this one is that it uses a mere 7 watts to power it. So you can plug it into your Nintendo Switch and play. Essentially anything with a USB-C port, away you go. And that is actually a little more interesting than doing weird things with laptops.
Yeah.
Although I understand, like their little premiere picture there, it's like, yeah, side by side, that makes a lot of sense. I just thought it was cute that it was sitting on top of the iMac.
It's perched like a raven on the bust of Pallas.
You're digging now, Josh.
Yeah.
You know what? You just mentioned the Switch, and I don't think it was on the list, but we should talk about it because we got more details about Switch 2. As you know, the Switch is everything to so many people.
It's going to be cost effective, won't it be?
Sure. It's going to be $449. It looks big. It looks the size of a Steam Deck. So it has a almost 8-inch screen now. Now it's up to 1080p resolution and has VRR and up to 120 hertz refresh rate, some interesting specs. I mean, it's significantly faster than the old one that's, 7 or 8 years old at this point. I have heard some disturbing things about the new game card situation where there's a card
There's nothing actually on the card, just a code.
It's a key that unlocks the software that you then have to download. So then if you lose the card, then your digital-only product is useless, I guess, which is fun. It's like a dongle. It's one of those security keys from corporate America.
But now it's on Switch.
Yeah, and there's other features. It has some really interesting and exciting stuff, especially for the Nintendo faithful who've been waiting the better part of a decade for new hardware, other than just an OLED screen update and slightly faster wireless, though there's an OLED switch in the house.
Isn't this a regular LCD display right now, and they think they'll eventually refresh it with an OLED?
What, with the Switch 2, it's just LCD?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, LCD. You know, they gave everybody OLED, and it's beautiful. And it has a bigger screen. And they kept it the same slim size and the same outdated hardware that we all know and love. And now we have to go back to LCD. I hope there is a premium OLED version later.
I had missed this story earlier. Is NVIDIA still making the SoC on this, or
a custom processor made by NVIDIA?
Okay.
There's your specs.
Yep. Makes sense. So be very careful here with your Switch 2. It's got a 12-volt high power connector in there that doesn't want to be disturbed.
Make sure it has all its ROPs.
Yes.
But how will you know? Because Nintendo frowns upon people making custom software. And I don't think they have a first-party tool to measure that.
I'll get one of the little cards to plug in and do it.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever get a Wii U, Sebastian?
Yes, I have one.
Oh.
In this house.
How did you like it?
I didn't like it, but I had, a close family member that is married to me who wanted to play Nintendo games at the time. And she was playing, what was it, Super Mario World and Mario Kart on that thing. And somehow at the time, it was okay with her. Like she didn't mind the fact that the battery life was anemic and you had to keep the little gamepad plugged in. By the way, it's hilarious to me that the new Switch to me looks like the Wii U gamepad. It's gotten that big now.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar.
But the Wii U was a bit up like a prototype. There was some theories and reports that the Wii U, the fact that gamepad is basically an empty shell. It was originally supposed to be the whole unit. They couldn't get it to work, and so they had to have it wirelessly connect to a base unit that actually did all the processing. So now then the Switch came out, it wasn't really even any more powerful than the Wii U. It was just better optimized. And then we had basically the same games released over again from the Wii U on the Switch.
Except now even more pricey.
Well, yeah, like the Switch, the entire Switch era, we had the same Mario Kart that launched on the Wii U. They just kept adding, tracks and things to it. It didn't even look any better because, lower precision on the Switch. There's like FP8, I think, instead of FP16. Not that anybody cares. If you're a Nintendo fan, you buy it because that's the only place you can get Zelda Breath of the Wild and every Mario game that comes out.
And you get very upset if the clock slowly gets faster, apparently. We didn't cover that this week, but it was a thing.
That was the Super Nintendo thing. But yeah, I thought. Yeah. But it'll still sell like crazy. $450. It's the new $250. So get excited about that. It is time
amazing
for
what you do when you have products and software that you optimize for nonstop and work on experience rather than just graphics.
It's amazing what you can do when you have a stranglehold on a market that you created and have sole possession of. Literally, Nintendo first-party games. Because the third-party experience on the Switch is hot garbage. Watching my son try to play Fortnite on the Switch, like kids play Fortnite on the Switch. Oh yeah, and they play it on the Switch Lite, which doesn't even have a docking mode and can't get that extra 200 megahertz. So you're playing at like 600 and something megahertz, and it is just crawling.
Awful.
And the networking speed, even on the OLED one, is appallingly slow. But the new one has Wi-Fi 6. So there you go. That's a win.
Yay. Welcome to Insecurity Corner, your weekly reason to drink.
Our first insecurity story, Apple backported zero-day patches to older iPhones and Macs. That's so generous of them. And I'm sorry Brett is not here to beam with delight at how Apple is
To tell us how great they are.
Yeah, he's doing the right. They're doing the right thing. They're being upright citizens, and they are giving people those fixes that they need.
They're being dragged out into the street and publicly shamed until they do.
But these are.
I'm impressed that they went all the way back to Ventura for one of them. That's digging.
These were extremely sophisticated attacks, Jeremy. So they can't really be blamed because
they're not used to that. They don't know how to do anything. Or I mean, they're fruit flavored. You're not going to get much positive out of me. So the nice thing is that, yes, those people that are using Ancient, and a lot of the time, these are hand-me-down phones. Hey, I don't want to use this phone anymore. Oh, can I use one to hook up to my baby monitor or to just run some dumb smart appliance in the house? And yeah, okay, here's my Ancient iPhone, use that. Not realizing just how enormously awful of a security risk that is, especially for a lot of the things that they get used for. So yeah, it's good that they've gone back, but this didn't happen in the first place. But thank you for at least updating those Ancient machines.
And they didn't disclose what those vulnerabilities were, I guess. They just patched them.
They swear that there were no 0 days ever detected taking advantage of them, so therefore they have no reason to disclose what they were, because, of course, not everyone's going to update, because their batteries won't charge high enough to be able to install that update.
Oh, burn. That was good. Next story, also from Bleeping Computer. Recent Windows Server 2025 updates cause remote desktop freezes. Now, that's what you want from your updates. Reduced functionality.
Oh no, this is the best burn ever, because when you're running a server, you don't tend to walk up to it and use the keyboard and mouse and monitor that are plugged into it, because there aren't any. You're running it headless and you remote into it. And so, yes, you installed the February security update, and on Server 2025 devices, when you connect, your mouse and keyboard stop working on that remote desktop connection, and you've got to disconnect and wait for that session to drop, assuming you program that in, right? You don't leave those sessions live when you can't exit them properly because you can't click on log out, and then are able to reconnect to have the same thing happen again, quite possibly. It was intermittent, but horrific, because you're hitting your server and it goes, no, try again, and it was just over a minute, sucker. It's a bit of a problem here, especially when you're dealing with multiple ones. And just to make it even funnier, there was a rollback to resolve a previous one, which would also, the second that you connected to it, it's not that your mouse and keyboard froze, it's that your session just disconnected. And it wouldn't, again, let you do anything for over a minute. Apparently it got upset that there was some UDP packets sent. So it kind of sucks to have properly updated your servers right now.
Yeah, I think we're running 2022 pretty much at our office, and in between 2016.
I bet I know the reason for that too.
2022. Yeah, 2025.
And it's not just money.
Too new. Yeah. But we run all of our stuff in VMs on ESXi, and so at least with that, we can get into a virtual console on the ESXi side where it looks like hardware. But that's that stinks.
Another Bleeping Computer article here. Mozilla, everyone's favorite privacy-first browser, warns Windows users of critical Firefox sandbox escape flaw. That was sarcasm.
Do you not play in the sandbox?
I like playing in the sandbox.
Yes, we all
He
like
has
playing in the sandbox. But yeah, in this case, it was Firefox standard and extended support that one of the sandbox systems that they have, you could escape from. They, much like the fruit flavored story from earlier, didn't bother telling anyone what it was, but they all saw attacks, which is, wonderful. That's why you really don't want to tell people what actually happened when there were actual attacks that managed to push outside of the sandbox. So it was a great day for anyone who really liked to play. And the thing is that it wasn't just Firefox that wasn't playing well in the sandbox. Chrome also had the exact same sort of issue. It was a ridiculous one where they just whooped straight outside of the sandbox as if it didn't exist, but it was definitely a targeted attack. And all of these have been patched. So, hey, if you haven't patched Firefox, Chrome, and the one sitting in the corner eating glue, you should probably patch all three of them. So this is a nasty one. This is not just if you play in sandboxes, but just when you're surfing the web, these sandboxes activate and try and keep stuff contained. And yeah, sorry, your sandbox is leaking. Switch to links. It's text only.
Next, Ubuntu's new unprivileged user namespace feature comes with new vulnerabilities. Wait, this is also from Bleeping Computer. Credit to Bleeping Computer for this entire segment this week.
Yes, pretty much. Well, no, the last one isn't. But it's also good news if that makes any difference. No, because we brought up a bunch of horrific Windows issues. I just wanted to attack the Penguin people out there. Ubuntu 23.1 and newer invented this new sort of unprivileged user namespace where you could create just a random user up to and including root, but it was only able to do anything inside of this namespace. Hence the name, unprivileged user namespace. The problem was it leaked like a freaking sieve. There were 3 different ways to create a new unprivileged user namespace with full system root from within one of these supposedly protected users. And all 3 of the methods use things that are near and dear to the heart of Linux and can't be destroyed, but there are ways to mitigate all 3. So if you are trying this out or just have upgraded your Ubuntu and aren't sure exactly what all is going on here, check and do the steps, because otherwise what you're doing is creating a little space, a little play box for someone to have root privileges within that namespace to play with something, except they could totally just jump out of that and do whatever it is that they feel like. So I feel good now that we've attacked all 3 major operating systems this week.
It's the holy trinity of exploits.
And then there's the good news.
How is the acronym? Is this an acronym? ATOP? Is it ATOP?
No, it's command.
It's what?
It's command.
Oh, ATOP. Okay.
ATOP
Right.
is a command that's used for monitoring system resources and stuff.
Okay.
And so the thing is that one of the people that you listen to when she gets a little bit upset about something going on in security, you pay attention to something down by the bay. I can't remember her handle online, but it's Rachel Kroll. Suddenly said, if you're using ATOP, you might want to stop running it. And this panicked a hell of a lot of people because 1, she's almost always right, and 2, ATOP is supposed to be a monitoring program to see what sort of things are going on the system. So what she found was that it was a bug. It wasn't a specific hack, but you don't want a system and process level resource monitoring tool doing anything weird. As one of the quotes was that she likened it to a children's playground built out of dangerously sharp materials. So there's no exploits that have been found, but there are a bunch of ways to make it to fail and crash, and not just one particular way. And therein lies the way into your system. Because if you can make a program crash in an unexpected way, you can often inject code or extract memory addresses or do a whole lot of other things you really do not want to have happen. And so this being a system monitoring tool that a lot of people are using, that was sort of terrifying, but it's okay. It's a bug. There's some strange behavior going on, but it's okay. There's a cleanup on the commit, and they're just making sure, again, the latest patches are going to completely and totally fix everything. But yeah, I would suggest at this point, if you're using ATOP, you might want to take a look at the newest branch and give it a shot. But hey, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as we were worried. This is good. This is very good.
You know what else is good? Moving on from this segment to gaming quick hits. We have a couple for you this week. First, Rock, Paper, Shotgun through hands with Doom, the Dark Ages. They compare it to Rock'em Sock'em Robot based on this screenshot here, where apparently you can melee fight with your fists.
You're in a giant robot at the time, apparently.
Oh, okay, so there's like a mecha component.
Yes. And then there's the dragon part, which apparently has pedals and switches its wings into fighter pilot wings. There's a little bit of strangeness going on here. I don't know. We've got a resident Doom expert, so I'm curious if he's actually looked at some of this and the shield stuff, and if he has any ideas.
Who's
or
that?
Did the storm take him out?
Who?
That would be Kent. Yeah.
Yeah.
No idea.
I'm still behind. This would make the third Doom installment I have not played.
I never did chew through Eternal. I keep meaning to go back, and I don't. So this one, the other thing is that they give you that fancy shield. So apparently a lot of it is blocking attacks and then punching or chain fisting demons. So it's no longer run and gun and never stop moving or you die, and more sort of stand and fight. But there's mixes of hordes of aliens and stuff, and someone's annoying you. Apparently you can throw the shield and stun something that's far away. I don't know what they're
The shield
doing.
taking the place of the chainsaw, maybe?
No, it's mostly for blocking.
Yeah, but no, I think you can
Interesting.
start it, and those spikes go in a circular motion, and
Yes.
you can.
From what they were saying, though, essentially what it is if there's an enemy off in the distance that's annoying you, you can throw the shield, hit it, stun it, so that it stops bugging you as you're dealing with what's directly in front of you. But yeah, it's a lot of sort of blocking big aliens, because otherwise they're going to club you significantly harder than the gun is. I don't know. I read through this, and I had to check the date again to make sure it wasn't still April 1st. And I'm just like, okay, I can see you trying to bring a lot of new people into this franchise, but you're going to lose a lot of all the older ones, maybe.
Talk about, having absolutely nothing to do with Doom 3, essentially, and the story.
Well, no one wants to.
Well, come on. They did some really amazing things with Shadow
Yes,
and Light
they did.
back in 2004, 2005. Yeah, I don't know what to think. It's kind of fun that they explore different ways of doing things. It's not just a rehash. Yeah, and like GT Wannabe says, Hexen. It's Hexen. And I remember 3D accelerated.
Well, if they pull that off,
Was it Hexen 2 was their first OpenGL version? I played that quite a bit with a joystick rather than mouse and keyboard. I was a noob and a fool. Yeah.
if you had the fly spell, I suppose that would work.
Next, a story about System Shock 3. It's not dead. we may actually hear more about it within a year, because the creators are hinting. The creators of the System Shock 2 remaster are hinting at a comeback.
It's licensing problems. It's always been licensing problems. It always will be licensing problems. So they're remastering System Shock 2, which, may look better than it did, but not amazing. Then again, I don't know, I'm just kind of mad about the System Shock reboot that we had. I never got through finishing it because it just sort of reminded me it wasn't as good as I remember it being. But yeah, System Shock 3 could come up within a year or so. We're going to hear something. It's coming out in a year or so. No, within a year, we might hear about whether or not they have enough of the rights to be able to do it, and if Night Dive is still around, and, hell, if the planet is still around at that point. So yeah, maybe there'll be a System Shock 2 remake after the System Shock 2 remaster with possibly a System Shock 3 following-ish. Maybe. We think.
You look at 2000, year $2,000, and you ask yourself how inexpensive a studio of that size was to run back in the day versus what we see now.
Yeah.
They spent $350 million on a title, and nobody blinks an eye. I mean, just think how inexpensive those guys were working for back in the day. How hard would it have been to keep them all together and have, more Thieves and more System Shocks and then new IPs that they hadn't even, thought about until later on when they all had dispersed and disbanded. What could have been? It's like the 3D effects of studios. Maybe my rose-tinted glasses are a little too rosy.
Yes, but keep them on for the moment, Josh.
Yeah, I think you're being optimistic about new IPs because I'm pretty sure at this point there are no new IPs to be had. We have exhausted human creativity because all we get are reboots, remakes, reimaginings. And remasters.
Yeah, but the new Indiana Jones, even though it's based on Indiana Jones, it's an entirely new story. I mean, they've done things in that no previous indie game, and what it's been 16, 17 years since the last one, maybe even 25.
Yeah, which is point and click.
Yeah.
Have you tried it?
No, but I hear it's great.
Okay, because I'm trying to pretend that there were like 2 indie movies at most, and that's how things work.
Yeah, what were you laughing about, Sebastian?
Nothing. It is on Game Pass, though. If you have the PC Game Pass, you can play the latest Indiana Jones game.
I've heard really good things about that game. I have not tried it yet. I had really low expectations when I saw the trailers. But I've heard really great things about it. I'm anxious to play that, and I'm anxious to play Split Fiction with my wife, which I've not had a chance to do yet either.
It is definitely a game for 2.
Yes, it is. And I've heard great things about that as well. And we do not get to do enough gaming together.
It is time for picks of the week. Josh, do you want to get us started?
Well, I may have mentioned this one before some weeks ago, but it's those G-Skill 2x16 gig Expo 6000 at 1.35 volts, CAS 30 latency. I mean, they're pretty solid. I have a second set somewhere of the 64 gig edition, but I didn't notice that those were 1.4 volts. And so my main machine, because I didn't want to tempt fate, I put in the 2x16s, the 32 gig set, and hoping for the best. And those 64s will go into the new test machine that I'll be building over, I think, the next week or so. Yeah, fun times, and not a horrible price for, DDR5 6000. It just has been kind of sitting around 96 to $99. If you get it on the right day, you may see it down to 95. But very solid set of sticks of memory. And if you got a new AMD build going, they're probably one of your best bets unless you need a lot more memory. And I'm still kind of disappointed that the 48 gig DIMMs, the 2x24s are still really, really expensive. I mean, they're almost more expensive than getting 2x32s. Have you noticed that?
Your pick this week, Jeremy.
Well, apparently Mir is really upset that I didn't mention the Best of Boomer Shooters 4 Bada Bing Bada Boom bundle on Humble with a couple of games that are relatively new, some of which I've played, and Power Slave Exhumed is absolutely hilarious if you haven't seen it. But if you want to play it on something, I am not a big fan of gaming laptops, but I run into people who it's like, nope, that's what I'm getting. But a desktop will, no, I need a laptop. I want a laptop. Oh, how much does it cost for an external screen? Anyways, there is a very limited deal up here in Canada that is too good not to mention. You got to be up here and you got to be within range of a Memory Express, but it's last year's ROG Zephyrus with an RTX 4080 and a Ryzen 9 7940HS, 16 gigs of RAM, which I believe was upgradable. I sort of ran out of time when I was looking at it, but it looked like it. Terabyte SSD. It's $1,000 off. It's only $2,700 for a laptop with a 4080 in it. That's significantly less than you would be paying up here in Canada usually. I even checked the Newegg's and the Amazons, and they don't have anything near this. And honestly, I mean, if you're young enough and not being ageist here, but it's the youngins that seem to like the 14-inch laptops. It has 165 hertz adaptive sync screen on it, so you don't necessarily need that external screen. So hey, if you or someone you know has to have a gaming laptop, take a look at this one. That's a heck of a deal. What's American prices?
America. Kent, speaking of America, your pick this week.
So, if you have a car or your family has a car, I really feel like everybody with a car should have something like this. This is both a jump box and an air compressor, as well as a flashlight and a battery bank for charging devices. It's $99 and a $10 off coupon. It comes with a really nice semi-hard shell case, all the hoses and attachments you need. And we got one for each of our vehicles, and I really like them. They'll hold a charge. The manufacturer says for up to 2 years. I would probably check it about every 6 months or so, just to be sure. But yeah, it's great to have. It takes up less space than jumper cables.
Can you hold that case up again? All right. And can you talk with it?
Hello.
Hi, guys. Hi.
This is what the podcast has devolved into.
Yes. But yes, so this it's smaller than any of those like the DC powered air compressors that you get. It actually, I've used it for an air compressor, and it's a little quieter than those, which is astounding. And it functions as a jump box, and it with the case takes up less space than a set of jumper cables. So, yeah, it's a great thing to have in your car.
Very nice. My pick this week, I have to have one because Brett's not here, and we can't just have two. So this is something from Amazon. It's not an Amazon product. This is the iFi Go Link. It's a portable DAC. It's a headphone amplifier. It's USB-C. Plugs into anything. I've been using this on a computer. You can use it with a laptop. You can use it with your phone, which I have also done. And it sounds great. It supports high-resolution audio if you are so inclined. It's just a way of getting that 3.5 millimeter adapter back on everything in your life. Now, it is $59, partly because it has a pretty high-quality headphone amplifier built into it. It is a high-res product.
Okay, that makes so much more sense, because I was going to say, how the hell did they electrically do USB-C to 3.5?
Yes, it's a DAC.
But it's a DAC, okay.
Yeah, it's like the Apple dongle.
Thank you.
Except better, because, I don't know. I'm sure it is measurably better, but I don't have those numbers to prove it. It does natively support DSD, which is interesting if you're into high-resolution audio files of various formats. I was going to say I did not pay $59 for this because I got it as a Christmas gift, and I've been using it for the last 3 or 4 months, however long it's been, and it's great. So I just figured, hey, There's a pick for you. It has a very flexible cable. Might be hard to see in this picture, but it's one of those cables that are, each of the elements are separately shielded, and then they're braided together. So it's surprisingly strong for a flimsy little dongle like this.
Yeah, I didn't see those cables at first. I was like, how do you fit one into the other? With the round, I only saw the black round parts and nothing connecting the two. So, yeah. No,
that's actually a great price. Yeah, iFi makes really good stuff, but most of their stuff's generally pretty expensive. So something with their name on it that's under $100, it's probably a really good buy.
Oh, and if you're using an older iPhone, there was a lightning adapter in the box. So you could have even more stuff sticking out the bottom of your phone. But I'm sure if you're an Apple iPhone user, you're probably buying AirPod Max or whatever their expensive headphones are. Because you know what we really need? Huh?
You know what we really need?
What?
Is a wireless headphone amplifier.
Yes.
Using Tesla technology. Tesla coils.
Do not stand more than 5 feet distant from it. Otherwise, you will get electrocuted.
You know what we really need is for Apple to adopt a high-resolution wireless codec. So if you're on an Android phone, you can use aptX HD, and you can also use LDAC from Sony.
Well, the second that Apple invents one, they will incorporate it.
I'm still waiting for Apple to invent the clamshell phone. That's going to change everything. And when I talk about folding phones with people, inevitably I hear something to the...
Nokia?
Well, they're just like, I don't need a phone that big. I think modern phones are big enough. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the ones that fold out like a book. I'm talking about the ones that are the size of a normal phone until you fold them in half. But unless you are one of those strange and unique people who use a Motorola Razr of the current generation, or perhaps a slightly larger market segment that uses a Samsung clamshell phone, and I don't even know if you can get an Oppo clamshell in America, but there are very few options, and I don't ever see anybody using them. It was weird that I was attracting attention for using a clamshell phone in public. I had 2 people stop and ask me about them. It's like, oh, what is that? That's so cool. Like, I felt like an original iPhone user in 2007. Is that the iPhone? Wow. It reminded me that phones used to be exciting, and now everybody just has a boring slab of about a 6-inch size, and it's just glass, and they all have the same apps, and nobody cares. All right. That is going to do it for our podcast this week. This has been the PC Perspective podcast. In case somehow you listened all the way to the end and don't know what you're listening to, I have no idea what I'm talking about. It is 11:19 p.m. on the East Coast as I say these words that are meaningless. And sometimes words hurt, even when they don't mean anything. So you should be careful with the things that you say to those that you care about.
Dude, your words are violence.
Yeah, they can be. What if you claim that the 8-bit BP6 motherboard wasn't as good as people remember, and that running two Celeron's
Dare you?
was just not that big of a deal? And then you say, well, are you kidding me? Because I didn't have workstation money. That thing was like $200. And Celerons were cheap. But they don't care. They don't care about old systems. They say that stuff is just trash. Your basement is full of trash. You're a trash collector. You're a hoarder and a trash collector. And all of your old PC game boxes on the wall back there are musty. And that's why you have an allergic reaction every time you podcast. And I say you're full of nonsense and other
Hooey.
choice words. And I'm not basing this on real life. This is not based on any conversations I've had with real people in my life.
No, only the ones in your head, right?
Right. Yeah, the Malbec capacitors that are leaking all over the place at all times. And I lack the energy to even go through and test all of them.
It adds a certain ambiance.
Right. And plus it's just kind of exciting. I have multiple old motherboards still new in the box. I could go grab and open it up and get excited about it and then see just leaking capacitor mess all over the inside of the anti-static bag. It makes me sad. This stuff was never meant to last forever.
No.